Barb's on mute, but if you, okay,
Okay.
I see we're recording now.
Yeah, I
Okay,
can record. Yep.
okay,
I'm going to share my screen, Jim, for you.
okay. I will start out with roll call. Robert Huerman,
Here.
Ed Katzner,
Here.
Keisha Lee,
Here.
Carla Patterson, Sue Rich,
Here.
Mary Kay Sentu.
Here.
Okay. And also attending are Beverly Tucker Knight and Barbara Sondag. I think that Councilwoman Weil will be joining us later, but she had some other activities. So I declare that there is a quorum present. And I would open the floor at this point to hearing from residents. Barbara, do you see any other residents that might want to address the commission?
I don't see any, but I'm not sure I know where to look.
Can you look at participants or I'm not sure how the whole thing works
Yeah.
with.
Since I'm sharing my screen, I have to.
There's one person on by telephone. And I don't know, it's 0372. Is that I'm gonna unmute so you can tell me if it's if you're on the commission or listening in, or if you want to talk. Hello?
Yes,
There-
yes, I'm on the phone here. Are you guys waiting for me?
Yes, do you want to speak to the commission on anything worth the part of the meeting?
Yes, sir. I was told that it was the court will be starting again on the 28th here. I want to end this thing here. Well, I'm supposed to have my insurance, but I won't have it until Monday.
Oh, hey, you know what?
Not court.
I'm gonna take down your number and I'm gonna give you a call back with the other number for court, okay? Hold, don't hang up yet though, because I need to write it down.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
Oh, you're all
Okay,
good.
it's 314-828.
I still don't have paper. Hold on. Okay, 314-828-0372. Okay, I'm gonna give you a buzz in just a second, okay? So you can hang up and
Okay,
I'll let you know.
say, okay, I'll hang up. You say
Thank
hang
you.
up?
Bye. Yeah, just hang up and I'll
Okay,
give you
bye.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, well, hello. Do we see any others? Hi, Carla, and we'll add to the roll that Carla Patterson is here, present. So we have a great group tonight. Okay. Beverly, are there any written communications?
We have no written communications.
Okay, then I believe that the minutes were posted on the website, and I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the meeting of September 16th, 2020.
So moved.
Does anybody have any updates? Or Rob moved?
I second.
Okay, Carla
Carla?
second.
Thank you, Carla.
All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's the crowd. Okay. Well,
Was that everybody or were there any nays?
put your hands up if you approve. Yeah, that's the easiest way to do this thing. Okay. So we'll move into the Parks and Recreation Director report. Beverly?
Great. So I gave the report in advance so that you could read through it in advance. And the highlights, I'll just point out to you some highlights instead of going into a detailed report. So number one, our playgrounds are reopened. As you heard the last meeting around, we put new fiber in all of them. And then you had a communication from the public at the last meeting that there were residents at Villa Park that were interested in helping with the cleaning. So we actually now have several volunteers that are helping in all the parks. And we also have, I'm sorry, not all the parks, but we also have park commissioners helping as well. So I really want to thank Mary Kay for volunteering to sanitize for us. And Rob Hoyerman is going to sanitize at Warson Park.
Well, and let me interject here.
Sure.
We have been, it's been a learning process, and I think we're getting all of the pieces in place. Additionally, I appreciate everyone, but we also are waiting to hear kind of how long we're going to go with this thing from the Department of Health.
Right,
So-
right. We've been communicating this week because once the temperature gets really cold, our sanitizing process is to spray bleach on, diluted bleach solution followed by a water rinse. So we really don't want to create ice on the playgrounds. So we finally, we heard back from them this week, and cities are now again submitting revised plans to get approved. So the county isn't putting out guidelines. We have to come up with our own guidelines and then send them to them for approval. So we just got Chesterfield's. Dawn and I will be working on that this week. So I think what we're basically going to do is once the temperature reaches a certain point, we'll halt it. However, we all know that in our parks, that the minute the temperatures rise, everybody starts playing again. So that's going to be that's going to be kind of that sticking point. Are we going to say an absolute? We stop November 15th and we are not going to sanitize again until March. We really have to make that determination. And we can put up signs to that effect. We're going to have to order another round of sanitizing signs. So we're grappling with that right now. And I just got Chesterfield's plan today. I have not read it. So I'll find out. So by next month, I'll have a report for you.
Yeah, and one other thing, Mary Kay and Rob, Mary Kay sent me a note saying that this was the easiest volunteer job that she's had. But we'll continue to be in touch. And
Yeah, I've only done it one time.
Yeah.
Once.
yeah,
Okay.
we're figuring it. We're making this up as we go. So
It's
Mary
either
Kay-
raining or there's no supplies.
right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I think we have the supply piece going, and so we
Yes.
will. And
Yeah, so we have supplies at all the locations. We have lock boxes for the volunteers for keys, although the volunteers at Villa do have their own keys. And then we are doing Indian Meadows. We're doing rain or shine. So Indian Meadows, the staff is doing right now, and the staff is also doing Stacy. And we're doing both of those, even if it's raining, just because Stacy, because the number of kids that play there. And then Indian Meadows also, we had complaints at Indian Meadows that the playgrounds were dirty. And so I put in some information in here. What happened at Indian Meadows is we sanitized them as we did all the other ones, but there was lichen growing on the play structure, and the residents felt that was dirt. So we were kind of talking at cross purposes. And so what we did instead is we just went out and power washed all the lichen off. So, but then we did put up signs to say what is lichen, because it's going to grow back. And it also grows at at Irvside. We have a little bit at Stacy and a tiny bit at Villa. So we thought that would be kind of educational. So similar to the cicada killer signs, we put out lichen signs to kind of explain what it is, what it looks like, and that, it's safe, it's not dirt, but people, if they aren't familiar with what it is, I could see how they think it was dirt. So
Okay.
then we
Would,
also, yes?
Would a little isopropyl alcohol in with the water on the rinse help with that?
It'll grow back no matter what you do.
Okay,
yeah.
It would certainly address the freezing problem though.
Oh, I see. Putting alcohol in the bleach. Okay. Well, that's a suggestion that we can look at, isopropyl alcohol.
Would dry quicker.
Well, the interesting thing about it is there's a lot of contradictory information out there, and CDC at one point along the way said that it didn't make any difference. So, but the health department says it is. So
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
bob and weave with the times.
Right,
Yeah.
right. The other
Tim.
issue we had at the playgrounds was there's a lot of people crowding at Stacy Park, and we've had people calling and asking for the police department to go out there and enforce the mask mandate. So the police actually can't issue a ticket for not wearing a mask, and we're not necessarily comfortable with the police department having that role. So instead, what we're doing is we push that information through through social media, and then we have more signs. We made more signs that are going out this week, and let's see if I can share this with you very quickly. I have 3 screens going here. Sorry. So this is a new sign we put up that's going out. This is a yard sign, and remember when we did our survey, we learned that a lot of people don't know that we have 5 parks. So what we're saying on the sign is if it's too crowded here, go to another park. So we have the really big numbers on the map, and then there's you can see there's a, where did it go? I apologize. I don't know what I just did. Well, there's QR codes next to the name and address of each park for people to put their smartphone on it. You just put your camera on it and it pops up the map in your phone. So we have instructions on how to do that on the sign as well. So I think that will help. Hopefully that'll help with some of the congestion. And if people do have concerns, they know they have other options. They don't have to stay where it's too crowded.
Sign up for soccer and go to another park. Sounds good.
Yeah. Okay. So then briefly, the other highlights, please mark on your calendar your next meeting on November 18th. The hour prior to that is going to be a Great Rivers Greenway update on the Centennial Pathway. And doing that over Zoom is 60 minutes long. The postcards that are coming out, yard signs, there were inserts in the movie packets for the giveaways we gave at the movie that had information about it. They're also going out, the postcards are also going out for anybody that picks up a turkey trot packet. And then they're going to have yard signs around town. But we really want to make sure people tune in and hear the update. They've got a preliminary survey results here for you to see that people are very, very excited about the Greenway, and they had a great participation for their survey that they did. And that,
Beverly, I believe that you put the 15th on this one. It's actually the 18th.
you are correct. It is the 18th, and I made a mistake there. It is the 18th. You are right. And the flyer thankfully has the correct date there. That is completely my issue there. I also want to thank Rob and again Mary Kay for helping with soccer sign-ins, and Ed as well, Jim. So thanks so much, you guys. I apologize that I haven't been as mobile with my knee injury, so it was such a great help to have you out there. I really, really appreciate it, and the staff does too. We had the citywide garage sale stats are up in there, and then dun, 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 we have a new bench coming. We have our second donated bench. It actually arrived today. The crew will be putting it together after all the fountains and the restrooms are shut down. Then they'll be able to install the new bench. Now, this new bench will not have concrete. You can see the first new bench has that concrete. But this bench is not going to have that level of concrete because the family that's donating it wants to be on the Stacy Park Trail. So we're just going to do little footers there because as the park is renovated, if the bench needs to be moved, we want to be able to easily do that. So we'll have little concrete footers. It'll still be anchored, but we didn't want to invest in this much concrete. And the family was actually really happy because they didn't want to pay for it. So that's really good. So it was a win-win.
Is it teak?
It is, it's teak, yes. So this is the one we put in 2019. These are the ones we selected following the feedback we got from the surveys where people talked about how they did not like metal benches. And they said, please bring back the wood benches. And we also got comments saying, please don't give us plastic benches. So it was really good feedback. We were able to find a manufacturer that does the engraving actually on the bench, so we didn't have to worry about a plaque. And then they have, they sell, we get a nice discount with when we do volume, and we also get the commercial rate. We're wholesale rate. We're not paying retail for these. So they end up being comparable and in some cases less than the big giant metal park benches. So that's nice. And they ship out, I ordered it last Friday and it arrived today. So it's they've been great to work with. I really like this company. Okay, so that's all I have, unless anyone has any questions.
Do you want to speak to the e-waste?
Oh, no, just know that it's coming up. It's coming up next Saturday, not this Saturday, but next Saturday.
Okay, the next, does anyone have any questions of Beverly?
It's good.
Okay, the next on the agenda is the city council report, but I will defer that until Councilman Weil comes on. So why don't we move to the Weed Warriors update, and I believe Ed is going to provide us that as well as talking about the new hiking trails.
Okay, was Bev, were you gonna talk about the flyer, or was that for me to do as well?
It was for you to do as well, but that's okay. Whatever you need me to do, I'm happy to.
Well, you can talk about the flyer, since I don't know much about that.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, that one.
Okay, so when we started work in doing Weed Warriors back in 2015, I believe it was, we divided the park up into zones, and I thought it would be nice for you to see just how far we've come in these zones. So obviously number one is where we started, and any yellow box that has a number in it means that we have actively worked in that area. So we started in 2015 and now we haven't completed, but we've put hands on and removed honeysuckle all the way through here. And in most of these, we've also now started replanting plants to go in place of it. So that's pretty exciting. We do we've got just kind of this rough grid that I did, and I'm hoping that Brian will probably start refining this. But this is what I've been thinking, is whether, what's the current status of that area? Are we actively working on it? Is it resting? Are we planting? What's happening? And then I've been trying to track how did we clear it? Was it by hand or by machine? And you can see hand is majority. And as we've gone through this, we've learned a lot, and we've learned that hand really is, hands down, the best way to do it. It has the best success rate. In areas where we cleaned with machine, varying degrees of success. And as Ed has been building the trail through there, he's discovered that in areas we cleaned with machine, as the plants came back, it came back in a much thicker base that's much harder to take care of with lots of little spindlies. So it really is not the most effective way to clear the honeysuckle. So the hand clearing definitely has been much more successful for us. And then,
Thank you, Bev.
Are there any
Here's a
questions on what we've
great
been
photo
doing?
here. Great photo here. So you hear, this is the pathway, December 2015. You can see it was a wall of honeysuckle all the way down the pathway at Worson Park. And then this picture right here was taken this spring, and you can see dogwoods are established, all of these plants in here. It's just unbelievable. So everyone should be really proud of that.
Thank you, Beverly. So the other areas I'm going to talk about, some of the volunteer work. And I think what I want the commission to hear and to know, if you don't already, is that this has been a long process, but I think through Beverly's leadership and now with our new horticulturist, Brian, it's really starting to flourish. At the Weed Warriors that we just had, the inaugural one on the October 10th one, we had lots of new people. We had families that brought their children. We had families bring kids who had service hour requirements that were there, but they still gave it their all. They looked like they were happy to be there. It was so well organized. Brian had everything laid out. People came in. they knew what they were, you know, Bev did a great job and Brian did a great job of kind of letting them know the reasons for doing things and really got people to buy in. There wasn't waiting around to know what to do. Brian had all the plants laid out everywhere, had the tools. He had the elixir of death, as I call it, all in bottles on a table. You know, it was go time, and it was so well organized. And I think the volunteers really appreciated that. So, you know, as I've seen the evolution of this group with, you know, kind of started off with a couple people that like to get in and destroy things like honeysuckle, it's starting to evolve into a wider, broad-based community effort. Now, I'm not saying there's a ton of people. I think, well, we had a lot though. I mean, I think for an event like we had, like 10 or so, maybe, I think. I didn't do an exact count. And that's really encouraging. The youngest, I think, was 10. Her name was Mira. And the oldest, I won't say who the oldest was, but we had a wide range. Let me put it that way. Then also we've been doing some other smaller community outreach. So we had a Girl Scout troop that participated in another honeysuckle and planting session. And again, it was so well organized. You know, when kids are that age, you can't expect them to do anything for longer than 30 to 40 minutes before they're bored. And we had stuff for them to do. So they started off by clearing honeysuckle, but reasonable honeysuckle, not the big giant stuff, but stuff that they could handle. And then we had some plants, smaller plants to plant along the trail there in Warson. And again, it was about the perfect timing. The girls were getting a little tired. They were getting bored. They started to use the clippers for things other than honeysuckle. So, you know, we backed off and we brought them over and they started planting, and they did that with all the gusto you can imagine as well. So I think what I just want you guys to hear, because you can see all the details, is that these community outreach things, I think, are starting to grow. We want to encourage as many people as we can. I think along the way, they're learning a lot about why this is necessary. It's not just to make the park pretty, right? It's really about our environment and trying to do something in a very small way. So I just cannot say enough about Brian, Beverly, and her whole team and what they've been willing to give up and do extra. In particular, Brian. I mean, I have him already saying, hey, Ed, we're going to go get wood chips on Saturday. We're just going to do it, you know? It's that kind of spirit, like he really is into everything that we believe in with conservation. And, you know, I could go on, and I apologize. So anyway, I couldn't be happier with where we are and what we're doing. And again, I thank Beverly for her tremendous leadership on this. Thank you.
Here, here.
You also want to speak to the
Brian.
trails?
Here's Brian. Yep.
Yep, there he is. Oh, the trail is done. I'm sorry. The Stacy Park Trail has been wood chipped and it is open for business.
Oops. Let me get to that. I'm struggling with the Prezi. Here we go. And here's a photo of the helpers, the Girl Scout helpers. Came out. They were adorable. They are doing this, troop is doing this as for their Bronze Award project. So they have to do many hours out there. And they also have to learn about it too. So we did a unit with them for them to understand how, even though this small project in Warson Park, it actually has international impacts, because the plants that they're planting are going to provide food and shelter and a nursery for migrating birds and insects like monarch butterflies or juncos, or whatever the bird is that's coming from Canada that's going to stop in Olivet, or our monarchs that are going to go from here to Mexico and back again. So that even though it's just a little area, it really has much larger repercussions, because without these important habitats for these animals, they won't survive, they'll die. And I think we've had a tremendous success rate, as you all know, this year with our insect habitats. So it's really important. And then, do you want to speak to these, Ed, a little bit?
Oh, the signs that you made?
Yeah.
Yeah, those are great. And I've seen a couple people stop and read them. Again, it's that other component of education that is so important. And I believe that we get people to really buy in, when we can inform them. So thanks, Beverly. I think they've been working great.
Good. So what we're doing with these is we're putting them out in the trails, these new hiking trails, and in the areas where we've planted. But we're also going to be putting out posts with rope, because we're finding is people are going and playing in the areas that we've cleared, which is great because it's a park, but we need to get these little plants established. So we really think that if people know what we're planting and why and where they are, that perhaps they won't actually let their toddlers go in there and play on them. So we're really hoping that they start to see that. This sign also has a warning. This is the sign up at Stacy, because we really don't want people on that new hiking trail during high wind until we have a better handle on the trees in there, because it's a new area for us. We really have not spent a lot of time in there. And as we talk about in the report, we're really going to be watching how the water flows through there and how the soil moves around, because that'll really inform how we reinforce parts of the trail next spring and summer when we start working on it again.
Anything else on the? Go ahead.
This is not to start a protracted debate on this. It's just to get it on a log sheet somewhere. Wondering if Olivet PD has in their list of things to do, possibly walking those trails, and or how do we keep an eye on those trails for less than optimal behavior?
Well, the police department patrols all of our parks, and they go in and out of them. And that was one of the key drivers of not locking the gates to Stacy Park, is so that they can go in there on a much more regular basis, both in the daytime and in the evening. So they go through at night as well. And we definitely hear from people that complain that the police officers have asked them to leave the park after dark. So that actually happened before we even started keeping them unlocked. So they go through there, they drive through there, they walk through there, and they poke around.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, hey, Rob, I can't speak for Stacy, but I know for sure at Indian Meadows, there's one officer in particular that regularly walks the bike path. It's usually on the weekend, but I have seen him out there also on a weekday when I've been jogging. So I can't speak for Stacy, but I do know it's happening in Indian Meadows occasionally.
Yeah. I was here this weekend actually, and I saw him actually walking the trail at Warson, walking all the new ones. He parks right at the trailhead, and he just walks through the entire park.
Right. Yeah, and I'm not trying to invite what goes along with all this. It's just, it's been on my mind that these are very secluded areas of the park, and they're cordoned off, and we just want to make sure we make a good experience for everyone.
Well, the best thing we can do is have more and more people use them, because
Sure thing.
people using trails and being out there, that's the best way to keep them safe too.
Makes sense.
I'll volunteer to walk the trail. I'm already walking it 2 or 3 times a week. I love it.
Good.
But
Carla, I wouldn't want to tangle with you, so I think we're in good shape.
Yeah.
All right.
And it's amazing the number of people. I've been working in Stacy on some things, and it's amazing the number of people that are using trails.
That's good.
Yeah, and we still get calls. People are just very, very excited about them. So that's wonderful.
Yeah, it's a great addition, no doubt about it.
would it
So
be okay
any other
if
questions on trail? Go ahead, Mary Kay.
there's a huge tree in there? I think it's a cottonwood.
Yes.
And I was thinking, I was thinking we could maybe have a sign that says amount of carbon dioxide it's taken out of the air. And
I'd love to do that.
so,
Yeah.
I have a little, I don't know
Do you have
how.
a chart? Do you have a chart that helps out with that?
I do, yeah.
Okay. So Mary Kay, that's actually something that that I have on my long-term vision plan, is really being able to say how much carbon we have sequestered in our urban forest, because That's a significant value of all these trees. It's one of the reasons we're trying to save them. And one of the things that's really driving the Great Rivers Greenway pathway and our park renovations is maintaining as many of these really mature, beautiful trees as we can because of the importance of them, because they're important for the environment, but they're also this incredible value to us. So if that's something that you'd be interested in helping us with, I would love that.
Say,
Sounds
the
good.
young man,
Go
the
ahead.
young man, the Boy Scout, a couple of meetings back was putting together some markers in the park. Is there an opportunity to combine that effort, or?
For his project, probably not, because he's done with that, but that does not preclude us from having another scout. Eagle Scouts are always looking for projects, and we can absolutely talk about that. It would be a really nice tie-in with any of the science classes in the schools around us too. That
Okay.
some classes do that. Yeah.
Fair enough.
I don't know if you heard also the SAGE group, which is students. I'm gonna mess it up. Keisha, do you remember it? Students actively greening the environment. A club will do. I can't remember what it is.
I think you
Good
got it
acronym.
with Ladue
Yeah.
High School.
Yes, they've been doing honeysuckle removal and planting perennials at Stacy Park with Brian. They might be excited about something like that too.
Student Action for a Greener Earth.
That's it. Student Action for a Greener Earth. Okay. Thanks, Ed.
Good acronym.
And that was another day that Brian just, again, had everything ready for him. There were 4 really enthusiastic kids, and they did a lot of work that day. So
So is there any other questions on the trails or on Weed Warriors or anything? Okay, well, we skipped over the city council report. So I see Maxine has joined us. So, and Beverly, if you can note that she was here in the minutes. Maxine, what's going on?
Well, it's funny, my agenda had Beverly before me. I must have printed out the wrong agenda. I thought I was right on time. No, I'm sorry for being late. I got stuck at work, and I look forward to the day when we go back to 7 p.m.
Here.
The turkey trot, as of last night, we had over a couple hundred registered. It is a virtual run, race, and bike ride this year. And starting today, I believe, between 8 and 5, you can pick up your packets and t-shirts. I've already been modeling mine throughout the city when I walk. It's a gorgeous purple. And it's there's slice of pies, and there's all kinds of combinations of whether you want to do all 3 or 4 different walks and rides and bike, or if you just want to focus on one of them. But it's just to get out and wear those. You can also, they have these Olivet gaiters that we have that are very cool, and they can double as a face mask because you can pull them up to here. But I think we'll see a lot of people during the month. I'm hoping that more will come in, but during COVID right now, during this pandemic, I know that the food pantry is serving, their numbers are going up, and someone said it perfectly last night. The people it's serving are right here in our community, because it's right on the edge between Creve Coeur and Olivet, where the Harvey Kornblum Food Pantry is located. And I spoke with someone actually there today, and when they receive this kind of money, the money that we donate, they can get a bigger bang for the buck with the food that they can purchase for these people. And their numbers are just going up by the week, especially with the unemployment rates going up. And they're so grateful for anything and everything that we do during Turkey Trot. Mayor Springer last night mentioned that the first year we did Turkey Trot, this is about where we were a month out from Thanksgiving with the numbers, and doing it virtually. It's going to be a different experience, but like, I know that we even have friends that are going to do it with us on Thanksgiving morning, socially distanced, and we'll probably do the walk many times throughout the month of November. But I encourage everyone that's listening, everyone on the Parks Commission, to reach out to some of your friends and neighbors and do it with them as well. Stacy Park lease, I'm not sure for sure if everyone is aware that Stacy Park is really the reservoir for the city of St. Louis. And so how Stacy Park came to be is in 1964, I believe. Yeah, 1964. One of the members of the city council made an arrangement with them that he was a lawyer that lived in Olivet that helped build this relationship, that we would pay $1 a year to lease the property. And we used to do it for much longer terms. And the council approved, I believe, to me on October 15th, that we are now leasing for another 5 years, I believe, is the shortest amount of time they'll let us do it. The longest amount of time, they used to let us do it for much larger increments. So for $5, we have Stacy Park for the next 5 years. There's no reason for them not to continue doing this with us, because we keep the park and the grounds in such beautiful condition, and we're only going to keep improving them. So that's exciting. And then general council update. There's a lot of activity going on Olive Boulevard as you drive down, and you're going to hear more tonight about the parks plan, and that's very exciting. And just the excitement that we've been focusing on as a council has really been around the parks plan and the bond issue and all of the new developments going on, and the Dealman Road project. It's really moving greatly along. I don't know if anyone has walked around it or near it, or where our hope is that by winter that we will, as it continues to get colder, that we'll at least get Dealman open so that people will be able to drive on it. We'll get it to a stopping point. We'll close down the project over the winter months, and then it will reopen again in the, as soon as we're able to finish out the project. But we hopefully will be able to drive on it soon, but it's looking really great. And it's kind of been cool when you walk to just kind of see all the activity. And kudos to Bruce McGregor, who has been overseeing this project. So, any questions for me?
Thank you, Maxine.
You're welcome.
The next item on the agenda is the park master plan implementation, and just a little to underscore a couple of things. As chair of the commission, I am sitting in on various meetings at this point to discuss. I know there's lots going on. I mean, there's many, many moving parts with the community center, with the parks, with concept plans, and it's going to be that way over the next couple of years. So I think if people have concerns or whatever, we're going to try to bring a lot of the some of the discussion back to the commission. However, we're working with staff, and staff is working with a great group of design and project management folks to move this project along. It's going along very similar in a manner to what the city center was as well. So we're using a lot of the same same professionals. So we're not trying to leave anyone out, but at the same time, I will tell you that there are hours and hours of meetings. And so we'll try to give highlights, and there will be times when we will be able to provide certain, as we get into it, we're going to come down to decisions, and we need people's reactions. And that may also lead to some called meetings. I think at the beginning of the year, we talked about that we may need to have meetings more frequently than once a month to go over this kind of a work session kind of thing. So if anybody has any concerns, can get with Beverly, can get with me, and we'll kind of go from there. But we have an exciting update. There's been a lot going on, and so Beverly, do you want to take that?
Yes, it's a really big document, and I've struggled with getting it into the Prezi. So we were able to send it out to everybody this afternoon. And then there are components in it that we're going to show you tonight that were not shown last night with the council, and those will come at the end. So a lot of it you already know because it was from the public meeting. This is what you're seeing here is the update that's a requirement to the contract in what we're doing. So this was put together by the project manager, Katie Ahold from Navigate Building Solutions. She is, Navigate is our owner rep and she's our project manager. And then also contributing to this is KAI, who is our engineer and architecture firm. Our project manager at KAI, who runs the project for that, is Joel Kirshen, and our architect is Aaron, and I always say his last name incorrectly, Kiesler. Okay. Aaron is our architect. And then DTLS is the landscape company that is subcontracted through KAI and is doing the site plans and the landscaping. And what probably most of you remember is they're also through luck of the draw, they're also the landscape contractor for Great Rivers Greenway for the Centennial Greenway extension as it comes from Olive through Olivet to Wharton Road. And that was not planned, but it's ended up being a phenomenal assistance for us, because now the Great Rivers Greenway landscape and plans will mesh beautifully with what we're doing in our parks, because it'll have that same look and feel and be much more of a nice transition. So we're just very fortunate with that. So the idea of this update is to give the council, to give the commission, and to give residents kind of an update of where we are since we kicked off after Prop C passed. So, and I apologize for this incredible scrolling, but and this is this is what you know. You know, we passed
Looks fine.
the bond measure for 16.2 million, and it passed with a 79% yes vote, which was amazing. This is kind of a detail of where we are since we kicked off on the 23rd. So we have completed a lot of review. We had to go back through and reestablish everything that was determined through our master plan and through those conceptual projects that we did prior to going out to the bond. Kind of reassessed, is this all still exactly where we are? And then we had to start doing really detailed site analysis surveys. So there's been a lot of core sample drillings. I actually have a really cool one right here. So I just picked it up off the ground out at the Old Saints, so you can walk around out there and actually see the work going on. We've learned a lot about the site, and that has that's already, knowing what the soils are doing is really helping establish the budget further as we refine our budget. You know, what's really going to be needed for the foundation of the building. Also getting just the topo lines, knowing exactly how high everything up was a crucial aspect to that. And then we've also had, we don't have the results yet, but we've also had at the same time, the environmental engineers have come through the old community center to kind of test where's the asbestos, where is it, to kind of figure out how much it's going to cost eventually to demolish this building. And that is not part, when you see this budget later, that is not part of it. That's a separate project. So we went through the schematic design process, and you saw a lot of these. So here, if we zoom in, well, I apologize, this isn't Prezi, so I can't zoom in, but this is that original concept we had that had the kind of, we call it kind of that open jaws look, and it has kind of morphed into our new format that we have that is a more boxy shape, but it also allowed us to get bigger on things and to save money in the construction. So things were refined. What you're seeing here is the site plan that was developed with the Great Rivers Greenway coming around the backside of the building. It's still going to do that, but there is an exciting development with that where it may push a lot further south. When we get through these slides, I will show you that We have the work in progress drawing from the engineer firm for Great Rivers Greenway to show you. So it's pretty exciting, and it addresses some of the concerns that were raised at the last Parks and Rec Commission meeting. So
Well, at the
here
top
is, pardon me?
No,
Okay.
please, go ahead.
Okay, so this is, I'm going to see if with just my screen controls, I can zoom in on this for you.
Yeah.
This
looks
is
good.
our new schematic design. Once we sort of had the schematic design ready for the building, we did something very risky, and we looked at it more in depth to say, this lobby needs to be bigger to really be able to fulfill all of the program elements that we really want with this community center, and for it to truly be a community center. So through our project manager and through the architects, we went back in, we reopened the design, and what you're seeing here now is a larger lobby. So it's broader. So can you see my cursor?
Yes.
Okay, so the gymnasium moved south to open up 3 feet here. And then the changing suites moved north to open up more space here. And what that allowed us to do is to increase this from 18 feet to, Barb, I think 23 feet. Jim, is that right? Are we 23
Yes.
here now?
Yeah, it changes. It's variable, but about 23, I think.
About 23 in this area, and then considerably larger here. And what that does is it really truly allows this path, this important interior pathway that we talk about with the allowing people to walk inside without disturbing the people that are trying to sit and have their community groups or drink their coffee or whatever. So it really allows that. It allows more flexibility, and we think was worth going through that. It does add to the project, so we'll show you the budget for that. Pardon me?
I'm sorry. Did that move the vending machines out of the changing area?
Yes. So what you can see now, let me zoom in here a little bit more. What I'll do is separate this document and send you just this slide, because it'll be hopefully small enough that I can send it. So this is now the esports nook. It was before the mother's room, but the room has now moved over here by the restroom. So it gives it a little bit more quiet area for them. And now vending is over here with the drinking fountains. So
That's a good move.
we moved. And then by moving esports over here, that allowed this area to open up much further and to really truly be a lounge with the fireplace. And then this vestibule moved out to allow, as you come in, a much more welcoming, spacious opening here. And it also allows the trail to kind of move away from the welcome desk. So if you are standing here conducting business, you don't have to worry about your purse or your backpack getting jostled by someone going by you on the walking trail. So that's really nice. It also gives, because of that switch, then we moved the gym storage onto the outside of the building over here, and it now allows access into the storeroom from the fitness area, but maintains still the 2 openings into the gymnasium. So this was a very late in the process to make a change like this. So I am very grateful that we were able to do it, and that the architects were able to do it, and that we were able to do it within our budget. And I'm also grateful the city manager didn't tell me to go suck eggs or whatever the expression is, because that could easily have happened.
I was muted.
So here is,
I think also it's to be said that those changes were made within the contingency that was already in the budget.
Right. So it doesn't increase the overall cost of the budget. It just means that later on down the project, there may be another contingency where we have to really look hard and say, well, Beverly, you already kind of blew the budget. But
it's a better looking building though.
It'll function a lot better. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is now an interior view. So this is the wall of glass that looks into the gymnasium. So as people are in here, they'll be able to see people playing or leagues or whatever. They'll be able to sit here and charge their iPhones or their laptops if they're waiting for their kids. Sit and have conversation. This is where the pathway will go. Now these interiors, they really don't show the true finishes, so the floor won't look like this. Our current plan is to have vinyl floor tiles on the perimeters, and down the middle have carpet tiles, so that you have that nice visual transition. However, when we start actually going out to bid and start looking at finishes, that's an area where sometimes you have to give up that carpet and end up having 2 different colors of tile to differentiate that instead. But there will be a visual demarcation on the floor for people to kind of see, this is the pathway and this is the resting area. Our plan is also that these pieces of furniture will be modular, move around, so that they can be reconfigured. If you want to have 6 people sitting at a table, you can. They aren't going to be anchored. They're going to be more welcoming for you to kind of mix and match and mingle the way you'd like to. And then these wood panels in the top are sound buffers, but they also bring in that organic feel of the wood that's on the outside of the building. And they also help create a little bit of an island as well. And then up here, these are skylights that will allow natural light to come into the space and also come into the gymnasium. And it'll be north light, which will be really nice, a really nice aspect for that. And then down here, you'll be able to see through the building to these big, beautiful windows in the fitness center that will look out onto the mature trees that border the property along Worson Road. So that's going to be a beautiful vista through the building. Does anybody have any questions about this so far?
How's Leonard doing?
Leonard's doing well. Leonard's doing well. He's in physical therapy right now, and I talk to him every Thursday. And
Good.
He's in very good spirits, and he's healing extremely well. His specialist is very impressed. So that's excellent to hear.
This is a forklift upgrade on the design of the building, Beverly. Thank you for making this happen.
Great. Here is our front door. You'll notice we don't have a circle here. We've talked about it, but right now it's staying as a square. We all really like that idea. It may actually be, it's not something that we can afford, but we're keeping it in the back of our minds.
It's a cool looking building. I like the organic application to it, to the wood, et cetera.
Yeah. Now you can see this wood, this type of wood is on the new Benson
Right. Benson Hill.
Benson Hill building that is on Worson between Olive and Grandview. They're darker, ours will be lighter, but it's this similar material. It's metal and it has the wood color and grain embossed on the metal. So that makes it much more affordable. Also, the maintenance of it will last much, much longer for it. That's the front door. And then this is the side. And these schematics, I think show the new push out, but I'm not 100% sure. But I think, because this is the area that protrudes out from the push out, and I think it does do that, but I'm not 100% sure. And then these are our materials. Anytime you go by City Hall, these materials are at City Hall. You can go in and put your hands on them and feel the stone, feel the wood grain. They're in there. If anybody's interested in seeing the color scheme on another building, I have an address over by Forest Park where they have the charcoal and the lighter color in there. So these are still pretty set with these. Now here again is the site plan that I'll show you the changes to that. But since the last time you've seen it, this has changed to allow drop off and kind of little waiting zone. You could also a food truck coming in. We have more. Okay. So then this was an update for people to kind of understand exactly how we arrived at the area, the rest of the park. Because as you remember, we have the master plan, the comprehensive master plan that identifies key elements in all of the parks. But now we have to actually take that and develop a detailed master plan with the actual ground surveying, the true measurements, the soils, the existing trees, and put something together. So as we start to refine that, I'm going to zoom in here so you can see this. A lot of elements go into looking at the site to figure out where can you really put things. So, you know, we know there are certain things we're going to do, like a splash pad, but there are a lot of factors that really determine where that can go realistically, based on grading, based on water supply, based on existing trees. I'm really sorry, I'm trying to see the screen for you.
Your camera's drooping, Beverly.
Yeah, I have to move my laptop in order for me to see the screen here. Okay.
Gotcha.
So what happens is when the architects come in, this is a schematic of the existing trees above a certain size in the park. And as they go through that, they assess the ones that are, as we mentioned earlier with Mary Kay, what are our majestic trees? They call them high value trees. They're very healthy. They're large. They're something that we could never plant and have it grow, because some of these trees are, you know, more than 80 years old. Some of them could possibly be over 100 years old. And then we also have trees in here that are failing or not thriving or infected with disease. So we have to identify those, and where those will come out, we have to either have a replanting plan, or we may be able to put a park amenity there because that tree is going to come out. This zone over here is another tricky one. This shows you our elevation changes and water trouble spots. So I think you may have heard at our last meeting that there is just between this area and this area down here is over a 20-foot difference in the park, which really constricts how park users can move around the park, because it's going to either require a ramp or stairs. We already know we have that big long sloping pathway in there that little kids love to go down on their bikes and wipe out at the bottom, but people with wheelchairs never use it. It's very frightening to them. We also have areas with intense water issues running through the site. So that really influences the design. And then we come into what do we already have? What are some of the assets in the park? We have, I never thought parking lots were an asset until we started working on this project, and they are a huge asset because they cost so much to renovate or install. So anywhere we have asphalt existing becomes something that is something that we really like. And then over here, they identify areas for opportunity. So in areas where there are water issues or large stands of trees, that's an area that we aren't necessarily going to look at for how you can map amenities out on the park site. So areas of pale green, there is some opportunity for something. Areas of shaded, not at all, not doing anything there. And then areas of the darkest green, that's a prime area to be putting things in. And you notice that this is almost the footprint of the existing community center. So that when the community center comes down, that really opens up the site to allow a lot of things to happen in here. Get back out. Okay.
In that opportunity area, Beverly, I don't know how to be. The last time we tried to do this, and we have never gotten any farther than under your direction and the current management of the city. So excellent. What I would think about is something for us to think about is when we are redoing this space in this neighborhood. It was this neighborhood who called the vote for if the city was ever going to sell property, city-owned property, it would have to come to a vote, and that's what sunk the idea of turning that property back there into a St. Louis Blues practice hockey rink and whatever else they were going to do with it back 10 years ago or whenever that was. And
yes,
and so we might want to think about how, not necessarily everything beyond the intermediate ball fields, but how are we going to approach dealing with the renovation of this property, the community center, the main parking lot, the lower parking lot? How do we want to do that in a public way that respects the public interest? And so that we're gonna, I know it's going to be painful to be kind of forthright and above, excuse me, it's going to be painful to kind of make that a public discussion, but how could we do that thoughtfully and so that
Yes, I think I understand what you're trying to say.
I don't know how to be any better, clear,
right.
any more
Okay.
polite about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So as we go through in looking at the site with the amenities that are coming in, one of the key drivers is making sure that high impact activities are on the north end of the park. So number one, that's why the community center is in the Old Saints, because that site borders an industrial park. So it's not close to any neighbors. So when we talked about building a new community center, one of the reasons we didn't want to put it where the existing community center is that's too much of an impact on the neighbors around here. This old school is so close to the property lines that it would be irresponsible for us to do that, because it would change the look and feel of this neighborhood so dramatically. So as we look at amenities that are going in the southern part of the park, one of the things we're really talking about is ensuring it maintains the feel of a neighborhood park, and the high impact things will be on the north. So as we look at here, we're going to keep the playground where it is. There'll be an opportunity in the future to expand it, but as a playground. The splash pad would come here, but that's comparable with the type of activities that are going on here. Some parking will remain here because the ball fields will still be here for soccer. So some people will park here, some people will park at the new community center. So that doesn't really change the traffic patterns of what's happening currently, but you will see a decrease in activity at night, because right now the building is open until 10 o'clock. So there's activity until 10. But the park that will be the biggest impact the neighbors will see, is that, it'll shut down at dusk because there won't be lights over here. But there will be things that the neighborhood will really like. So you can see over here that we've gone through several of these iterations of refining these plans as we go through it. And now we've come on to one that we really like. And that is having, as I said, having the playground stay here. It'll expand over time. That playground expansion is a vision item. It's not funded through Prop C, but the splash pad is, and a basketball court for the neighborhood is. And again, we already know basketball is a high value activity for this neighborhood. There's a huge game that happens across the street from Rob Hoyerman. The kids have actually outgrown that court. We know that kids got off the bus this last year, but unfortunately it stopped with the pandemic, but they played basketball in the gym here. So having a full court basketball court here for the neighborhood is really important. It will not be lighted, so it won't be available after dusk, but it is something that all ages can play. So we really think this is a good spot for that, because then all the neighborhood kids can continue what they love to do in this neighborhood. And then
Yeah, Rob, are you asking in terms of community input, or are you talking about just taking community impact?
Yeah, so we need to have a plan, right? And so Beverly just conveyed the plan, the vision, and then B is how do we tell that story and who do we tell it to?
Yes. So we'll address that. We'll address that item further on. Yeah.
Okay, it's the item B. I think that's.
Yes.
We don't want any blockers, right?
No, we don't. And we made a commitment when we did the park master plan process. We set the pattern of we did a lot of work, a lot of research, a lot of documentation, and then we had meetings where people could come in and give feedback. So we're going to continue to do that with each of these plans as they get far enough along. Now, some things like, so I think it's really important for people to know what we're looking at, with trees and with water issues and with topography, there's things have to happen in a certain way. So one of the things that the public can give feedback on is, well, we know we're going to have a splash pad here, but what are the components? They can touch components or see
Right.
different things, or surfaces. We have this type of surface. So there are small things that they can definitely give feedback on. But I'm also very confident in the work that you've done as a commission to get to that park master plan. The amenities listed in these parks weren't crazy ideas. They were things that the public actually asked for. So you're here as we go out. Yeah.
Absolutely. And it shouldn't be just focused on this community. That type of outreach, everybody gets a chance to weigh in on that, right?
Yes, everyone gets a chance.
The entire municipality.
Mhm.
And we don't want to get too far down in the weeds because we only have so many resources to apply to that.
Mhm.
But we do want to give the community an opportunity to feedback on that before we kind of start setting posts and laying concrete.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And
All right, fair enough.
time-wise, I've had conversations with Barb about when this might happen, and that probably will start happening in January.
Excellent.
We'll probably be ready by January to start doing that.
Okay.
It kind of breaks
Can
my
I
heart.
say something though? You keep talking about.
Oh, I'm sorry, Keisha, you stopped.
No, I'm
Say
sorry.
again.
You keep talking about this as it's neighborhoods, and I mean this is a citywide
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely.
project.
Yeah, the
So I
meetings will
mean,
be all the parks.
anybody can
Yeah.
come play basketball. This is
Oh,
not
yeah.
the neighborhood basketball court
No.
or the neighborhood splash pads. So I just don't want us to get stuck into this. Like it
Mhm.
might be in your backyard, but this is for the entire city. So I mean, I
Absolutely.
think that we just need to keep that in mind.
Absolutely. You are absolutely right. And when we have these meetings on the parks, I'm really hoping that it'll be more than one park in the discussion because I really don't want to silo it.
Absolutely.
So if we have a
Absolutely.
meeting for Warson Park, they better have another park on the agenda. Otherwise, only Warson Park neighbors will come. And we really want it to be a community-wide because one of our drivers of our park master plan was connectivity. Connectivity of neighborhood to neighborhood, crossing the Olive Divide, crossing the Dealman Divide. We have Arrowhead Park and Hilltop that are, completely cut off from the rest of the city. So we really need to make sure that we do the same type of outreach. And I'd really love to have that poster board back again where people, self-select where they live and the grid so that we can really show that, that we're getting the word out to or hearing from everybody in all those neighborhoods. So Keisha, you're asking.
Yeah, but I say that to say because you made mention that we have to be mindful that the parks back up to people's
Mhm.
backyards and but all of our parks back up to people's
They
backyards.
do, absolutely.
So I mean,
and when I use the
Indian
term,
Meadows is in the middle of our neighborhood. So
absolutely.
I mean, as is Villa and all of the other
Yes,
parks.
correct.
So we just have to,
Correct.
I mean, no park is any different than any other. So I don't
Right.
think that we should give any extra credence to one over the other. So
Well, when I
think
say
when we're talking about this is
when I say neighborhood park, however, I'm talking about the size of a park because we have passive parks like Veterans, we have neighborhood parks like Villa and this end of Warson and Indian Meadows. Those are neighborhood parks. But you get to something like Irvside, and that's a more active park. So a park like Villa or Indian Meadows are passive parks where people are you do kind of passive activities. Warson Park, the majority of Warson Park is a very active park because it's really big. It's 17 acres. Stacy Park actually functions like a regional park. So those are the definitions we use in our park master plan. So when I talk about neighborhood park, I'm really talking about the function of it, not an exclusive neighborhood.
I understand the definitions of the park. I don't need a definition of a park, but they're all in neighborhoods is what was my point.
Yes,
I
they
think
are.
there's a couple of things I'd add. One is in Warson's going to be different because people weren't as aware of it because you had Saints and then there was nothing there. We're really going to be re-energizing that entire 17 acres. And so I think one of the things that's going to be interesting is that's really going to become, you know, one of the ideas is that's going to become kind of our main park, the kind of the city park. And so there's going to be a little bit of there's going to be a switch, you know, on people that people are going to understand. The other thing I would say, I think, you know, Rob was maybe more tuned in or to the concerns of, you know, of that neighborhood because he was there and he kind of heard it. And what I would say is kind of to Keisha's point is the people nearest a certain park are always going to be more interested in that particular park. And that's just the way it is. And people are all vocal about their parks. We don't have a park where people aren't vocal about, you know, what's going on, and that's what you want. You want people, that just shows that there's a sign of ownership and use. If they weren't vocal, they wouldn't be if they didn't use it, they wouldn't care enough to even talk about it. So I think that the public input, I think you're right. I don't think we'd ever do, I mean, I would never recommend doing a meeting on one park. I think we'd always have to keep it mixed, partly because we want people to understand it's at the system. You know, I mean, that's why we did the park. That's why we did the master plan all together, because we had these individual plans, but we wanted one. So I think it's going to be interesting to see the how this evolves, the use of Vorson Park, how it evolves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not focusing on Worson Park because I happen to live in the catty corner of the parking lot. The point is that they are all in neighborhoods, and the point is we don't want blockers emerging out of these plans all of a sudden, and then we got to figure out how to deal with potential blockers in the execution of this plan, because you know, at the last minute, because we have made design changes, they end up, you know, delaying things and getting in the way of what we're trying to do here. And so if we can be mindful of that as a commission, as a city, I think it's a little extra time, but it may save us a lot of extra time in dealing with potential local community issues that we could have otherwise avoided. That's all I'm trying to bring up.
Okay. Good. And it's all excellent input. One big thing that we've really looked at with this process is the park maintenance operations. So I think you're all familiar with the little house that sits in Worson Park, that sad excuse for a parks warehouse that doesn't really function for the crew there. Also, it doesn't have a sewer. It was a septic system. So really grappling with how do you get a sewer line in there, the expense, and it sits above the community center. But what happened is we sort of had a whack on the side of the head, and we started talking about where else could we put the maintenance shed? You know, why is it there? Well, it's there because it's always been there, but does it need to be there? So one of the things we really are excited about is this option here that we're really honing in on, that this may actually be a long-term solution, and that is relocating the maintenance warehouse. I'm sorry, I have really messed this up by going too big. Let me get back down. So here we go. Oh my goodness, I apologize. Here we go. Okay. Now let's see if I can gently do this without blowing up. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay, so if you can see this, this is Grandview Drive here. And the proposal would be to maintain the driveway in, but close off this second exit, maintain this, this parking lot here, maintain this parking lot here, and then down here in this lower lot, put the maintenance shed in here. And what this does is it keeps a city staff presence on this end of the park, but also it's a quiet activity because you've got along the border here, you've got condominiums here and then some homes here. So the parks work from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. And you know, they'd be good neighbors. But I like the idea of having eyes and ears in this part of the park because we've always had a presence here. And then what that allows us to do is to then open up this site up here and put the community gardens here. And then you won't have a big building kind of peering over the top of the community center. And also we can absolutely put a toilet restroom in this building right now, because currently the park house where it is now does not have water to it or a restroom. So the crews have their lunch in this building. They do everything here. This is purely storage. So this gives the access to everything. So this is a really exciting concept to me. This is the footprint of the existing community center. So you can see we'd like to maintain some sort of homage, maybe even that ship's, I call it kind of the ship's prow of that, and have restrooms there. That's another vision item. Full court basketball, the swings would stay, the gazebo would stay, the playground would stay, and eventually it could be expanded, and then the splash pad would go here. Again, I told you this is going to change slightly, so I'm not going to dwell on that because I'm going to show you. But notice here's the new pathway through here that's already established. And then the long-term plan is to continue that pathway up through here. And this will be a passive area of the park, but we'll be able to have a nice wildlife corridor. And then this hiking path will come through here. Then this is a nice long path that's ADA accessible that gets people from this side of the park down to here. The old pathway will stay, but this is really great because remember when we did the master plan, having circular walking paths in all of the parks was something that people really, really spoke to. It was one of the highest rated things in our survey. So this really gets us that circle here. You could walk just here, or you can continue down through here and get onto the Great Rivers Greenway as well.
Is that meant to be an asphalt path, Bev, or a smaller one compared to the Greenway?
Our paths will be smaller than the Greenway, that's for sure, because the Greenway is a 12-foot path, so none of ours will be 12 feet.
Oh, okay.
What the actual surface is, I don't know.
Okay.
And that may be determined by how much money we have to spend. But this is really important. This gives you an update of where we are with our budgeting costs. This shows you for the community center. We started out with these estimates from our conceptual design, and this is where we are now with our completed design. And what wasn't mentioned last night, but I think is really interesting, look at the dates here.
Oh, yeah.
Look at that. In 1 year, it went from concept to bond measure to now we have a schematic design. I have never worked in a community where that's happened that fast. I really think that you should celebrate that. You've done an amazing job with that. The changes that we made are over here. So we added square footage to the lobby. We've added back in the fireplace, which had been taken out originally. We have added in additional gymnasium equipment, and we went from the kitchen being a white box to actually being a fleshed out kitchen. So we are still within funding. You can see here, something that is a solid number is a gain in expense. Something with the parentheses is where the expense has gone down. So construction costs are up by adding these increases, but our furniture and fixtures estimates have come down. And then our bond financing came in a lot lower than we anticipated. And we've now moved money out of the contingency. So you see, we've used this. Barb, am I explaining this correctly here? I probably caught her off guard. Jim, am I saying this correctly?
It sounds correct. to
Well,
me
I
from
mean,
what you said.
effectively, the program budget has not shifted.
Right,
We
Right.
we do have less contingency at this point,
right.
but in any project you start out, I think it was started out at 10%,
Mm-hmm.
and
And we're still
Contingency.
about, I think our contingency is still about 10.
well, we've spent some of that down, but
Right,
I think everyone is clear that this thing is not going to cost more than
okay,
we will have to make cuts in facilities, but much of the contingency is to build, at least from the community center standpoint,
Mhm.
is to build you're building a building for the next 20 to 30 years,
hmm
and you don't get a second go at it.
right,
And so,
right.
So,
and there were, yeah.
So that's an interestingly round number at $250,000 on contingency. Are there hard numbers behind that?
There are, because there are two types of contingency. There's the owner's contingency, which is for our changes. And then there's the contingency that's in there for changes in material costs or labor costs when you actually go out to bid, or
Okay.
if something is discovered that we didn't know about. So for example, when we did the core drillings out in the Old Saints, we learned that we have fatty clay. So that means that we'll probably do some soil amenities around where we put the concrete in. So I'd never
Gotcha.
had fatty clay before, but we have some. So that changed where money was spent and how it was broken down. So, but we still, you can see here, we still have a 10% contingency of about $790,000 in this amount right here in October 2020.
Good.
Okay.
When is this budget going to be called done and we move ahead?
When we are in the building and it's operating.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. It'll be
Manage it
revised,
through.
it starts out like this, you have this much, and as you get further and further in the project, the design is refined, and then when you actually go out to bid, and then when you start construction, it gets closer and closer. But things can even happen in construction, so until it's, done and we're in, I would say I think you're always going to have refinements to the budget.
See variances. Okay.
And
good.
Well,
typically,
and I
the
think-
biggest risk that you're going to have is when is doing it, in the ground. When you're in the ground, that's where, you have the MSD. You kind of find out things with with the city hall. We kind of came up to a stormwater issue that was about $500,000 of a bump that we had to address. Because you don't always know. You do the boring samples, you do the testing, but you don't always really know what it's going to be once you start really digging and putting in the footings and that type of thing. The other thing that I think is going to be interesting with this is the interplay between the community centers and the, you were looking at the community center budget now, but the interplay between the community centers and the parks budgets too, because we haven't really started looking at that. And I know we've talked about these being separate dollar amounts. The bond was actually written so that they could be, that 16 million could be used on either. So that's kind of one of the things I'm part of the plan, part of the idea of moving these projects kind of forward at that same time, schematic design and getting in, is so that we kind of are looking at those budgets too at the same time.
So this shows you that we have completed schematic design. We're now in design development. And as we get towards the end of design development, or kind of midway through, that's when we really can start engaging the public and have some great public information going out. So this tells you we're still on track with our budget, and our next big key milestone is this design development, and then with that, the park master plans, because we now have a preliminary site master plan for Worson Park. We had our initial meeting on Stacy Park. Our next meeting is on Indian Meadows Park. So we'll have that for you very soon. I can show you some, Stacy, when we get out of this one. Now here is moving into our parks. We're still on track with the parks. We're supposed to have all of the initial park concept designs done by the end of December. And then we'll do the same process with them, go into schematic design, then design development, and then get the construction documents. So we're moving in a similar pattern, but you'll notice construction and where some of the plans go are slightly different between the parks and the community center. The community center started further ahead than the parks because it required so much more to be done on the front end before we could go out to the bond. So here, what are we doing next? We are working on the consensus during the design development. We're continue on the Warson Park schematic design for the maintenance shed, and then we'll be doing the individual designs for Stacy, Indian Meadows, Villa Nerdside, and those cost estimates. So we've asked a lot of questions, but is there anything that we haven't covered that people want to know?
It's just a bit of curiosity, the furniture budget being reduced by 100,000 equipment. What is there a big thing that you're hoping maybe to buy with budget money later? What does that really include?
Well, we had a couple cost savings. One, we're going to reuse some of the furniture we have. And then also that was done pre-COVID, those estimates. And the interior designer that's working with KAI started looking at used office equipment. Apparently there's a glut on the market right now. So we're to have a significant cost savings with that. So that's huge.
So it's more of a savings than it was giving up any major items or systems that you'd want in the community center, like
Correct.
Tables and all that. So we're still getting the kind of tables you can break down and the chairs that'll store. I mean, you're not giving up anything.
No.
Okay. Thank you.
No, we'll still have that. Yeah, no.
That's great.
That's a great question, because the last thing you want to do is open a center and not be able to furnish it. We also have a little savings with, because we're going to be leasing the fitness equipment instead of purchasing. Okay, I'm going to take you back over to the Prezi, because what I can do here is now show you the in progress. Did this happen? Come on. It's got to catch up. There we go. Oh my goodness. That is not what I wanted to show. Oh, I have to, I apologize. I got to escape again. I have a document. Oh, good heavens, where is it? Well, I'm just gonna have to get it out of my email because I loaded it up and it is not there.
But while she's doing that, one of the things that the Stacy Park, some of these conceptual plans that we're looking at, we will be doing for each park. So the next one will be Indian Meadows. And essentially what happens with these is that we are able to take, we're presented with a whole smorgasbord of ideas. And the concept is to bring it down to maybe 2 or 3 options. And at that point, then decisions will need to be made, and we'll be looking at specific feedback from folks.
Okay, so thanks for that, Jim. I appreciate that. So what you can see here is this is the community center footprint. This is the driveway coming in. This is the parking lot. And this is the original plan that you looked at last time of the Centennial Greenway right here, coming up close to the building. And we had concerns about this corner, concerns about proximity to the building, concerns about being kind of in this little valley in here. So because the park's maintenance shed has moved to the southern end of the park, it really allowed some more flexibility in here. And one of the engineers kind of had an aha moment and said, well, what if we take the greenway and instead have it come up the hill this way? So it gets it away from the building. And further to that, it eliminates us having to have retaining walls in here, which is a big cost savings. But the other part of that is, well, how do we get park users from the upper part of Warson to the lower part of Warson? And this is our existing little paved trail we have right now. This light blue is the continuation of that one that kind of was like the letter D that went around the park. So now the concept is you bring it over here so people can get to the community gardens from that side, and then it'll double back and come down here and join into Great Rivers Greenway. And then also you can go through here over to the front door of the community center. So this would require probably minimal retaining walls here. But
We
it
don't, well,
also-
we don't, I don't think they know that yet. That was,
They don't
Katie
know.
and I had
Yeah.
a conversation about that today. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So this really is, what you're seeing is something that hasn't been shared out. This is an in-progress draft drawing, but this is really where they're focusing now. And I think it's really exciting because it allows so many other things. It allows to move the bioretention basin away from the building. It allows us to rethink how we can access the back of the building. One of the things that we're grappling with is there's a really big giant electrical transformer box that has to be put down here by Ameren to service this building. And it may not be able to happen, but I would love for that to be back in the backside of the building so you don't see it. So that we might not be able to do that. We might not be able to afford it, but at least now we could have a conversation about it and explore it. Is that something we could do? And it also frees up, because we moved that gym back, move the gym further south, it also means that we're not putting the gym onto the trail. So this I think is very exciting. And I think it makes a much better user experience too, as well as being, more affordable and more aesthetically pleasing. And it gets rid of this little scary corner.
And I think also, while we don't have an agreement with Great Rivers Greenway, it does help provide some cost sharing, assuming that the contract gets
Yes.
written.
Yeah, Barb's working diligently on that. Okay, does anyone have any questions about, I'm going to try and turn off this annotation. I don't quite know how to turn it off.
One other thing is, you'll notice where it says add bike parking for the trailhead and so forth, is that then makes the parking lot and that really a trailhead for the Great Rivers Greenway, so that people can come in and enter it from that location if they want to go toward Clayton or U City, or eventually toward the west.
Yeah, and it also means if you want to ride your bike to go to the community center, you absolutely can. So there'll be a lot more options for that. Okay, let me close out of this. And then
So they weren't concerned about the added, is there an added grade to it? Because they're going up a little higher.
well, what happens, what you can't see on this one is this original path actually had to climb here, then go back down into like a little valley and then climb out again. So they're excited about it because it eliminates that climb. They climb and then they go down. So instead of going up and down and then up again, it's actually, it's a much better design for them, and it's a much better park user, a greenway user experience as well. So
But it's a slower grade too.
I think it's good.
Yeah, they were saying that it would not exceed the 5% for ADA requirements.
right, they can't. And now they don't have to kind of finagle it and get all kind of weird. Because one of the things we're really trying to do is preserve this big tree right here. That's the one that's on a knoll all by itself. And then we have trees in here where that some are good, some are bad, but it's still nice to preserve them if we can. Now I am trying to get out of here and there. Okay, there we go. Now I can close that. Okay, I'm just going to close this one and then I'm going to open this one. So this is, oh, but I got to, how do I get rid of what are drawn on the screen? Do I have to erase? Eraser. Seriously? Oh, there we go. Okay. Ah, phew. So I just learned you could do that just in a meeting last week with Great Rivers Greenway. I thought that's pretty exciting. Okay, now how do I get out of there? Okay. Oh, shoot.
We can ignore it.
Yeah, can you ignore that purple line?
Yeah.
Let me see if I can, there we go. Okay. All right. Okay. We're done. Okay. Whew. All right. So this we saw this we saw yesterday for the very first time. So this is you are seeing this hot off the press. This was in the committee meeting. No one else has seen it. You're seeing it. You're the first group from the city seeing it outside of the driving committee. So what we want to show here is, I started on page 17. Let me back up to the beginning. Okay. So here's Stacy Park. These are the topo lines in the park. So you have the upper prairie here, reservoir, and then you have the ball fields. And then this is the high intensity area of the park with the playgrounds, the pavilion, and the parking lot. And then look at this, they've already added the new trail in there and it's pretty accurate. I don't know how they did that. Ed, did you give them something or did they just walk it?
Most lucky, I recognize some of those terms.
So this is the original concept plan we had in the master plan. So they've been looking at that and that's informing how they go through the design for this. Now here again, same thing at Warson Park. Red are the super steep slopes, orange are the moderate slopes, and then the gray circles with the dashes, those are drainage issues. So you can see we have quite a few in there. They did not identify drainage issues down in here because this is a wild area. So we're just assuming that we're just gonna leave it wild because it's a hiking area. Then they also have done a really good assessment of the trees. Now the red ones are ones that are poor condition they're gonna remove. Now those are the high level ones, but there's also a whole series in here that we've also identified. We have a more detailed plan for that than they do, but some of these, like we've got some ash in here that are really bad. We've got some really bad conifers over here. And then down in here, we also have some that we're gonna have to address. But so this is from their perspective, they look at a certain size tree. We have Brian's looking at every tree. So there's a lot of ash infestation in here. And these little tiny ones are brand new ones that were planted just this summer. So they're already adding in as we go along, which is nice. Now here is an interesting phase. So this is showing what areas of the park are likely to remain as they are versus what's likely to be removed. And so you'll kind of see some phasing here. So the trails are obviously staying. The fence, we now have, we know the fence is going to be removed in some sections, which is very exciting because that fence, World War II, and the barbed wire on the top is not exactly what you want to have to say welcome to the park. So I'm very excited that we're going to be removing it, particularly in these areas. The fence along here that separates these property lines, that's going to stay because I don't really want people entering the park through that really unstable, you know, for lack of a better purpose, it's really a ravine. We really don't want people wandering around in there. We want them on the trail. So keeping that fence back there is a really good idea. And then this is where high intensity and program areas are. So again, the parking lot around the pavilion, these are all areas that you have high activity, high interest, and then as the shading changes, then there's lower use areas of those. The trail is not considered part of that because the people walk the trail every day. And then here are areas where we have some really intense issues. So at the front of the driveway, you have the pedestrians and the cars crossing constantly. That's where the crosswalk's there. Cars come in and out. The the pathway crosses the mouth of the entrance to the park, which is not a good design in any way, shape, or form. You also have quite a bit of car pedestrian interaction over here, which is not desirable. So they really want to take a look at that as they're looking at the circulation for the park and doing improvements. Then also you can see this is going to remain, this is going to remain. And then we're really looking at ways to open up the prairie. So the prairie master plan that was done in 2006, when the prairie was actually designed, called for pathways through the prairie so that people can get in and experience the prairie, just like Shaw Nature Preserve. And we've never fully done that. Now I know that Brian and I think Ed have plans to kind of start looking at that this winter, maybe even start tackling it, which is exciting. But it also, they give us other functions too. It acts as a fire break when we're doing burns, which is nice. And it also allows us to get in there to do maintenance easier. So as honeysuckle crops up in there, it's a lot easier for us to get in and to work on it. So having those pathways is really nice. Again, this is our concept from the master plan. And then this is just so you kind of see how landscape architects kind of dissect a park, what they're looking at. So they're talking about this concept area. Now, when they talk about dog park here, what they're really talking about is the dog lawn, not a dog park with play structures and things, but an area that people really have mourned. People mourn the passing of where they used to run their dogs back there. So people really want that back. So we're exploring, can that happen back here? And then disc golf, being able to have a disc golf course. And then the ball fields, you know, we're going to have soccer, baseball remain there. We have an opportunity to bring football, lacrosse, and ultimate frisbee in there, which are ones we've never had space for. And then cricket. And many of you on the commission remember when the cricket club came. Well, they are still fired up. They are still ready. And if you go out to Stacy Park on the weekend evenings, you see the cricket players out there. There are quite a few. It's been great for Dawn to see them. So then they've decided to kind of divvied up what's going to happen where and how we're going to look in here. Now, I don't want to get too detailed into this. They're starting to fleshing out these concepts, but again, remember, we all saw this for the very first time. So typically what happens is we look at it, we give feedback, and then we look at it again a couple of times. So what you're seeing now is what we saw for the very first time. So it will probably morph considerably between now and when we actually bring it, like where the Warson one is, we've looked at that probably 6 times. So now this is the very first time we're looking at this. And we spent so much time on it, we didn't get to Indian Meadows. So they already have Indian Meadows ready for us, but we'll see that next week. So in our master plan, it calls for some sort of access for people on the edge of Warson Road, and they've acknowledged that, put that in. We're really talking about renovating the pond because instead of replacing it, because we really want to keep that nice established native garden back there. It really is a great garden and it's in really great shape, particularly the work that was done this year. We really discovered how established those native plants are. And so to rip all that out and start fresh would just be devastating to the biodiversity in there. We'd lose those hibiscus bees that are so important that we learned about. So really having a softer approach in there, I think is, I'm really, really excited about their concept for that. And then these pathways taking advantage, we already have a drive aisle through here that we mow. So it's kind of following that same thing that we already have going along. So that'll be really nice. Again, it's just kind of showing the emphasis on where the activity will be. Now you notice there's some little something here. And so they're considering in the master plan, it called as a vision item, not in Prop C, but to have a secondary restroom in the park. In our master plan, we talk about it being here, and they're suggesting perhaps it would better serve the public if it were up here. So it's both sides of the park can benefit from it. And if someone's on the ball field here, then we don't have to put a porta potty there. So that, I thought that was pretty exciting. Then looking into the main part of the field area, they're really talking about reconfiguring the athletics so that they are more efficient. You can get more activity in there by just reconfiguring and moving where things are. And then maintaining the woodland trail, and then adding that little restroom there with a little maintenance storage on it. And then this is what they're kind of looking at for the ball field. So if we eliminate field 3, which Dawn has already started decommissioning that field because we don't use it and it's the hardest one to maintain, just by simply moving this over, it allows us to open up this, and this is where we can put cricket, we can put several different soccer fields, we can put football, lacrosse, ultimate frisbee, all those things. And you can see our half-court basketball will kind of stay there because it's a nice platform to do things with. And then there's a potential that we could put a full-court basketball here and still have that in the park. And we know that that's a high-interest activity for our residents. Now they are talking about consider artificial turf infield. That really is going to be money driven. Can we afford it? But it would considerably reduce the amount of field prep we have to do because that would just be this inside part. So, you know, we spend a lot of time dragging those fields, adding materials to those fields, trying to dry those fields. So if that's something we could do, then, and it's in the budget, that's something we'll consider. So that is a new concept that we haven't talked about before. And these are all the different variety of things just by moving the ball field apart, you end up being able to do a lot more activities. So it seems, when I saw it, I thought, oh my God, why did I never think of that? It's amazing. So I'm pretty excited about this. And then they started looking at maintaining, you know, this whole area is considered the playground. But I want you to take a look at these pathways, because that is one of the really big barriers that we identified through our park survey and then also through the master plan. And that is, if you come to Stacy Park and you have a child in a pushchair or a stroller, or you're just trying to schlep your diaper bag and all your kids, there is no way to get through the parking lot to these playgrounds. And it really came home to me. We were out in the park a couple weeks ago doing some maintenance out there. And there's a gentleman that walks in the park every day who's blind, and he uses his cane. And he lives on Old Bonham, and he comes in through this pedestrian gate here and he walks the path. But he got kind of stuck in here and there's no way for him to get back out. If we hadn't been there, I felt really bad because he was really heading over this way and he really wanted to get back out there. So I was able to have a chat with him and we talked about the pathways, and he's very excited about improving the circulation in here. It'll make his life a lot better. So they gave us a lot of different options for parking and for pavilion. And really what happened is that we have a lot of homework in front of us. So the staff is now going to take this, and now we're going to do a lot of research. We're going to start looking at you know, the numbers of facility rentals we've had, what activities people have done around that pavilion, because they're going to do an analysis. Is it better to renovate the pavilion we have? Is it better to build new? And what are the numbers? So currently our maximum count in there is 250 people. Do we want to keep that number? Do we want to make it bigger? Do we want to refine it a little bit down? And what really are our parking needs? So that's something that Dawn and I will be going back through a lot of our facility rentals over the last couple of years and really taking a look at that, and also looking at, when we do rentals, what other activities are going on. So we've never done that for our pavilion program. We've never really done that pro forma the way we did for the community center. So that'll be a really good exercise for us to do. And we have to do it fairly quickly. So we'll get started on that right away. And I will bring that back to you because I really want to make sure that you all get a chance to hear that and to provide some feedback on that.
Hey,
So,
Barbara.
yes.
It's Mary Kay. Have you ever been out to Wildwood, Missouri, and seen the park pavilion they put in out there by their dog park?
Yes, yes, it's nice.
I almost think that our pavilion could be renovated to resemble that, not necessarily a new one, but just change the roof line over where the people can sit, and it would really open it up.
Yeah, that's definitely something to look at. So when they come in to look at it, they're going to look at the concrete. They'll look at the roof. We know we've got a lot of cracks in that foundation, but how bad is it? How bad is it really? We've never really assessed that building because we have the restrooms there. We have the concession stand that used to be a full-fledged kitchen, but I think some of you may know better than I when that stopped, but I think they stopped doing that in the 90s, mid-90s. So last time Summerfest happened, does anybody remember Summerfest?
I remember Summerfest, but I thought that the kitchen was open later than that.
Well, the kitchen has, like, since I've been here, I've added back a stove, just a residential stove, and a fridge and a freezer. Barb put in right before I started. But they took out the big fat fryers and the exhaust fans and all that. So I don't know when all that came out. I know we still have the kegerator, and it still works, shockingly. So we'll have to. That's another thing for us to do too. Operations wise, when we have events, what do we want in there? What do we need? What makes sense? And then is there ever a time we'd want to rent it? Does someone want to if they're having an event, rent it? So it's an exciting thing for us to take a look at. And Mary Kay, you're right. Wildwood definitely is something. Also, Shaw Park has the Enterprise Holdings Pavilion, which is a really interesting design, and they have a beautiful fireplace in there. So it'll be exciting to come up with some ideas.
Hey, Beverly, can I ask a question?
Sure.
The artificial turf and some of those things, how will that affect some of the events, like whether we want to do a drive-in movie and you have people on the lawn, or so that's like one question. The other question is, I know like last year's turkey trot, I think it was last year's, we used the escape hatch, I guess what to call it. Is there any ideas for circulation for anticipations and like the big rental we had where there's over 300 people, to maintain that or to be smart about it in a way that it can be used like that maybe more often?
Yes, absolutely. So there has been discussion about doing a more formal, exit route back here. I'm not sure I'll ever be comfortable with cars entering through there, but having
Sure.
that for emergency vehicles, or having like for the turkey trot, people exiting that way, it's a great function. It's really good. That's a question we asked yesterday about that, and Barb made clear no asphalt over there. So,
Well, sure. Yeah.
it's
There are
got gravel now.
a couple of concerns I have with that. One is that's a service road for the reservoir, so I'm not even sure. We always ask for permission before we use it. So I'm not sure just on that where they may be on that. The other is that cars exiting onto Olive at that area is dangerous, and you need a police officer there. So it is good for circulation with big events. Definitely for one way, but we have a little more work to do before we can kind of go any further
Yeah.
with it.
Yeah.
Well, if we're doing the parking lot down there, that smaller one, I'm assuming that there has to be an actual entrance on Warson. Is there a consideration for circulation to maybe go that way? That you wouldn't need permission, you'd be able to. I mean, I'm not saying you do this like as a matter of course, but for those big special events, is that an option, or would that be?
Yeah, I don't know. It really depends on what happens in this interchange down here. Having people drive on this pathway and make those turns, I might not be as excited about that. This is a straight shot, much wider. So this may be a safer option, but something to consider for sure.
Yeah.
But I wanted to
Typically
kind of
you-
go back. I wanted to go back and just talk about this artificial turf for 1 second. It's infield, not outfield. So it would be this, potentially, or maybe out to here, but it would not be all of this. Would all be natural grass. Just eliminating the need for dragging and things in here. And then currently we don't park anywhere inside the skinned infield. We only park out here. So I don't think it would preclude us from doing that. Although Dawn would like us to never park there ever again.
Are there other questions that folks have?
I have
know
a question. And sorry, I had to switch to my phone. My internet is acting crazy. Are any of the renovations that are going on at Old Bonham to the park?
Yes, so Old Bonham,
Because I
yes,
know there's a lot of shift to the back of the
there
building.
is. There's a lot of shift, and what I don't have here, right in here, the alignment, oh, sorry, right here with the crosswalk, they've aligned the crosswalk to this pedestrian entrance. So what the architects are suggesting is we just eliminate all pedestrian access through our driveway where people currently come in now. And we'll be forcing them to come in this pedestrian one, and then it lines up with the new crosswalk that the school has. So I think that's really sensible. So we're really, I think it makes it easier because, you know, we know that the parents and teachers are going to continue to use this parking lot, and so it makes it safer for them. But also it eliminates this. And one of the things they're talking about that I probably didn't point out because I don't think it's visible here, but one of the things they're talking about is eliminating the path. Yeah, it doesn't show it. We don't have a slide. Oh, over here. So one of the things they're talking about is eliminating the path on this side. There'd be no pathway here. So as when people are walking around, they would then walk this way, and that avoids having any of the pathway go across this and then line up with the school new pedestrian crossing right here. So that is very sensible to just eliminate the crossing. So it just doesn't happen. But by adding these other pathways over here, we're not going to lose any of the length of, we'll actually gain distance for people that will actually have more than a mile. Because currently right now we're just under a mile and people really want that mile. So we'll get it. We'll get it with our new pathways up around in here that all link. Did that answer your question, Keisha? You
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Yes,
Cool.
thank you.
Okay, and that is all I have on Stacy so far. And I don't have, sadly, I don't have anything for Indian Meadows, and I'm really bummed because I was really looking forward to that. Okay.
Okay, are there other questions or concerns? I think we've got, I see the Zoom with the mayor. So that is Thursday, is that correct?
Friday. It's Friday.
It's Friday morning, 8:45. If you're able to dial in, that would be nice. I believe that Beverly's going to make a presentation as
Yes, it'll be a progress report on the implementation of Proposition C. And I also, there were commissioners on the council meeting last night. I was moved in from a audience to a participatory, so I didn't know, I can't see who's in the meeting. So I want to thank Jim and Keisha for being on last night. That was really nice.
So,
Jim, I have a question. On
okay.
this calendar on the back, when you talked about the coffee with the mayor, the turkey trot, our next meeting date, it says GRG Centennial Pathway Zoom public meeting. So is that in lieu of this meeting?
No, it's prior. I have the dates. I have the time wrong here. Their meeting is, I put it like that on the agenda too. No. So their meeting is from 5:30 to 6:30 so that it ends before yours starts at 6:30. I think it would be great for you all to listen in from 6:30 to 7:30 because they're going to show
From 5:30 to 6:30.
Yeah, sorry, 5:30 to 6:30. They're going to show all the results from the survey. They're going to show where they are as far as their schematic design and start showing some of the amenities. So I think it'll be a great meeting. Be a really good meeting.
Yeah, and that would be a good segue. I know we moved to 6:30 because people were concerned about things going late. Is that still working for folks for this meeting? If so, I mean, I'm raising the issue to say.
No.
What?
I find it challenging because I work in the city and getting home in time, so.
And I work for a West Coast company, so it's very difficult.
I know that we go
I'm
both
open to
ways.
moving it back or staying. Either way works for me.
Or do we want to try the 7 p.m. for the next meeting and see if that works better for folks?
That would give you a potty break between GRG and your meeting.
Okay. So,
Seven would work better for me too.
okay, so why don't we move it back to 7 for right now, and then we'll have this discussion. And we can work on that as well. The other thing that we'll do at a future meeting, I know we keep kind of kicking the work plan down the road. It's now the work plan for 2021. And so we will make sure that we have discussion about that, maybe changing some of the, not the basic work plan, but maybe combining things so that it's, so that we can actually make this thing work, and then we as commissioners can work through some of the issues. So that will be coming forward. And is there other business that people want to bring up?
I was just going to comment. I liked the format of this meeting and the pre-reads. I know a lot of work goes into those pre-reads, but I found it valuable to be able to kind of read through it before the meeting, and I think it'll help us kind of highlight the key topics and have a discussion on what the most critical kind of topics there are throughout the meeting. So I know that's a lot of work, so thank you.
Second that.
Third.
Mm-hmm.
So do I hear a motion for adjournment?
Can I make a statement first before we adjourn?
Certainly.
I echo Carla's statement. I would like, just having been through some of these construction projects with the school board, I know that, everybody's not a part of every meeting. And if we could get updates, just maybe more often than our once a month meeting, just so that we're all aware of what's happening. I know you're in the meetings once a week. That would be helpful so that we can be abreast of the decisions that are being made as we move along.
Beverly, does that work for you?
Yes, well, we'll figure out a way to do that. I do think that as we get into these park master plans, I do think that there's probably going to need to be a work session with the commission for you to give.
Oh, I understand that, but I mean,
Yeah.
like even last night at the meetings, and Ruth kept talking about all the decisions that had been made and the collaboration, and it was great. And I'm like, what collaboration? I mean, I'm clueless, and I'm on the commission. I mean, it would just be nice to know what is happening as it's happening as a commission.
Okay.
So I'm just saying, I'm saying,
Okay.
not that I need to know every step of the way, but even, just as things are happening, so we're aware.
Okay.
And that's one thing that I've been talking to Beverly about. We just need to make sure that everyone on this commission is in the loop.
Mm-hmm.
And we will work toward getting that in place.
Yes,
Thank
yeah,
you.
I agree. So we have, I don't want to send you the minutes, it's too much. Maybe I can just do high points from the minutes.
Maybe a recap or something like that.
Okay. And then we also have I have GRG meetings sometimes every week, sometimes every 2 weeks. So the GRG meetings is a lot of engineering that I don't want to give you. I think the big thing is seeing that pathway change through there. But if anything earth shattering happens with GRG, I'll definitely show it to you. And so we just saw that design I showed you today. We saw that yesterday for the very first time.
In what I'll try to do is that we can get some updates, and then as people see that information, we can refine it. So if it's too much, that's some. If it's not enough, we can work through that.
And perhaps our chairperson could
Yes, no, I,
Do an
I,
assist,
I,
okay.
I realize I'm in the crosshairs on that.
That would be great.
Because Keisha, I share some of your concerns, but as I've been more involved, it really becomes, you're drinking from a fire hose.
Yeah. Well, I really want all of you to feel connected, and I really want you to know exactly how the process is moving and the decisions being made. So I absolutely want you to know that. And I don't want anybody to feel like you're out of the loop. So I do think having just like even if it's just a paragraph of, what did we do this week? We did nothing, but I think it's important for you to know. So it's a great suggestion, Keisha.
Yeah, and if I could add too, I think it's not always clear what is a courtesy and what is an expectation. So as a commission member, obviously you guys want you want to know what our thoughts are on certain things, and other things you're informing us, and it's not much more than that, which is fine. Sometimes I'm a little confused, like if I'm overstepping my bounds, or if we're putting our nose where it shouldn't be, or if there's anything that's really clear that you want our opinion on. I mean, I guess you do a pretty good job of that, but I think sometimes I'm a little confused, like, what is it that you need us to give feedback on, or what should I be putting on my brain power to? Because I don't want to speak for experts necessarily.
No, that's a good point. That's a good point. And Jim's good because Jim says, what's my ask? And what's our ask? So I think that's really good.
Other comments? If not, I will entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, so the move, I apologize, move was Keisha.
Was Rob moved?
Oh, Rob
Keisha,
moved.
I'll defer to the lady.
Okay,
Keisha second, okay, thank you.
okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Aye.
All right,
We'll be in-
thanks, everybody.
We'll be in touch. Thank you all.
All right, thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Jim. Thanks,
Bye.
Good
Beverly.
night, everybody.
Good night.